All right, this is Patrick Rogers, and today we have the privilege to have Rachel King on the show. And Rachel is the president and supervising attorney of King Law Firm Attorneys at Law Incorporated. Welcome to the show, Rachel.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Awesome. Can't wait to dig in. So a little bit about Rachel. She's a lawyer, a veteran, entrepreneur, wife, mother, triathlete, ultra marathoner. We're going to have to dig into that a little bit. And a yogi, which is fantastic. Rachel practices law in California, Arizona, Kentucky, and Texas, but she represents clients nationwide and internationally. She opened up her law firm in 2014 after owning multiple companies and achieving success by taking one of them to over $1 million. To date, Rachel's firm has helped thousands of people and earns in excess of 7 figures annually. Rachel now works primarily as a strategic litigator in elder abuse, financial and physical, in undue influence, family law, conservatorships, guardianships, and will and trust contests. She regularly speaks on related legal issues. She was just a guest on CBS more than once, actually. He was featured in LA Weekly as a top 10 industry expert. She's also been highlighted by San Diego Woman Magazine, US Insider, SD Voyager, Canvas Rebel, and more. She intends to continue to speak publicly to inform and educate in these highly emotional areas of law. So Rachel, a very impressive resume. Can't wait to dive in and talk about your experience, what you've learned as a CEO of the company. Before we get to that though, what's one interesting fact about yourself that maybe not many people know?
Oh, I would love to have my own judge show. If I could be the next Judge Judy, I think it would be
Wow.
like the pinnacle of my career.
Okay. So do you watch Judge Judy a lot then?
I don't. I should. You would think because I wanted to have my
Right?
own court show, I would watch all of the court shows.
Uh,
I know I don't watch the show. I'm familiar with it. I'm familiar with her work as
yeah.
a judge and I followed her career path, and
Okay.
it's just amazing. And she's, continues to work, and she's not young anymore. So that also
No.
is, I think, something that if we could all, that's how I expect my life to turn out, and the ability to continue doing what I love and working until maybe my last breath, I think would be a true gift.
So let me ask, what about that kind of that path, having your own judge show? What about that path intrigues you?
Well, I really like, it's a totally different area. It still involves law, and I really love law, and I love helping people. But there's a certain awareness that comes, and I think a certain social responsibility that comes anytime you have a show or you maybe reach celebrity status, whether it's, lower, whatever they have, like D-list celebrities or A-list celebrity.
Yeah.
And I've really, really found that elder abuse and this particular area of law is fascinating. Huge. It's everywhere, but the knowledge is really lacking. Public awareness isn't where it needs to be. And I think the ability to continue to do what I love as an attorney, share this and guide people and reach other individuals would just be amazing. I still talk to people, as you said. I do public events.
Yeah.
I try and inform as much as I can, but you just reach a whole broader audience, right? If you had a television show that was popular.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Do you think you'd be able to do better than her as a judge?
Well, I'm not quite as mean as her, I don't think.
She
I know that
is.
it's for television.
She's pretty raw, isn't she? I wonder what she's like in
is,
person.
Yeah, some of it is fun, especially as an attorney, because she says the things that we all kind of think, and that we would never say to a paying client. But I think you could be not quite as rough around the edges and raw. But maybe that's what people want on TV. I don't know. Maybe that would be
Who
difficult
knows?
for me.
Maybe, yeah. Who knows? Maybe that's what you need to get the reviews and ratings, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So elder abuse is kind of one of your focal points. I'm just going to claim ignorance here. I'm not really in tune with what that means. What does elder abuse really mean?
Well, there's 2 different kinds. We have physical and then financial. I think physical abuse is pretty straightforward as far as what we understand it. Maybe
Right.
We see that often with family members that are maybe stressed or worn out from providing care. We see it at assisted living facilities or nursing homes where
Gotcha.
it is physical abuse, right?
Like straight up physical, actual.
Physical abuse.
It's just
right.
insane.
The other, so I think the thing that's pretty, and we can all agree that like physical abuse, whether it's a senior
Sure,
or
easy.
anybody,
Yes,
is
check in
not
the box. It's horrible.
right.
Absolutely. Right.
So I don't know that that's pretty common knowledge. I think
Right.
financial elder abuse is an area that is so not discussed, and it runs rampant. And we hear about it a lot in scams,
Mm.
right? Don't The
Sure. Yeah.
IRS will
Yeah.
never call you. They'll never
Yeah.
ask for your
Right. Right.
social. But it does that's not even what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people that go in and uh, seniors tend to be, so a senior is somebody 65 and up as defined under the law.
Right.
Sometimes we can reduce that age based on circumstances, but they're a very vulnerable group because oftentimes they start relying on other people to provide their care, their food, their transportation. They rely on caregivers and outside people to even provide companionship because their
Mm.
families are busy and raising kids and all of that. And when you rely on somebody for your food and your shelter and your bills and your transportation and even a conversation, it opens them up to being taken advantage of. And seniors
Mm.
are getting their houses, they're redeeding their houses without
Yeah.
knowing what
Oh
they're
my gosh.
signing, putting people on bank accounts and getting wiped out. All of these things by, honestly, it's really sad, but most commonly family members and
Family members.
caregivers that come in and say, but don't you love me the most? I feed you every day. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, that's not, if that's not manipulation,
Yeah. I don't know
what
what
is?
is. Yeah.
So,
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So it's not necessarily just the like in the retirement homes. A lot of times it's family members actually caring for them and that using that manipulation tactics. Yeah.
yeah, and understanding really where the law is and how it works, and that, you know, if somebody, for example, has four children and their whole entire life they wanted to leave everything equally to their four children,
Yeah.
but in their older years, one of their children has stepped up and started taking care of them, that's remarkable. But that doesn't
Mm.
necessarily mean that that child now should be saying, yes, you should leave everything to me. Or I know you're so grateful for the care I'm providing. Now, like, give me some kind of benefit, or I'm only doing
Right.
this
Right.
because, those are
Because
really
of that.
sticky situations.
Sure.
It can be done. It's not always elder abuse, but I think it needs to be done carefully, and people need to
Yeah.
be aware of it. One, so they can prevent doing it themselves inadvertently,
Yeah.
but two,
Yeah.
so that these seniors are not left.
Right.
I've had them homeless with no money, finding out when they go to the grocery store because their credit card or their debit card gets declined.
That's so sad. That is so sad. So take us a little bit through a bit of your journey. You started in 2014. What's the journey that's gotten to you to where you are now?
I graduated. I'm going to take it back just a minute because I think it's a
Okay.
fun story. I
Yeah.
graduated high school and I thought I was going to go to college. I did. I tried college. About 6 weeks into my first semester, I realized my head was not in the game and I quit. And my parents, I didn't think it through because I was
Sounds like my
18. So
daughter.
my parents cut me off financially and I was left without anything to do. So I joined the army and I enjoyed my time in the army, but
Oh,
I also knew probably within about a year and a half that that was not what I saw in my life long term.
sure. Sure.
So about that same time, I got pregnant unexpectedly. And so I was 20 thinking, oh gosh, what am I going to do with my life? I always knew I wanted to be an attorney, but that was really where I said, I got to get my life together.
Oh,
So I used the military, my time in the army, to get my bachelor's degree. I got out of the army and I used my uh, GI Bill to
GI
pay for my
Bill.
law
Nice.
school.
Yeah. Yeah.
When we get to 2014, I was married with three children and had been in the
Wow.
military for 7 years. So I was really kind of at a point in my life where I was tired of working. I
Mm,
also had owned other companies, but I was
sure.
tired of working for somebody else on their deadlines. And the
Yeah.
thought of going and working at a big law firm where I was again going to be pulled away from my family and really live for somebody else was
Right.
not
Right.
a route that I wanted.
No.
So in
Yeah.
2014, I opened my own firm to
Cool.
practice law my way
Yeah.
and figure out my work-life balance. I always joke that I brought the millennial into law, right? I was practicing at a time where the millennial ideal hadn't
Uh-huh.
really come into the law. It was still very much traditional thinking or thinking. And
Sure.
I thought, no,
Sure.
I'm going to do this my way. And it was not met with a whole lot of, it wasn't accepted, but I did it
No.
and I'm so grateful. And that's really why and how I started my firm, how I got to my law firm in 2014.
Gotcha. Very good. And since then, any significant or any stories come to mind? Any things that were pivotal in helping you get to where you are now and how successful you are?
Well, there's two two lessons I think that were one was right at the beginning of business ownership. Again, I'd
Yeah.
owned other successful companies
Sure.
previously,
Sure.
so I was aware of the entrepreneurial journey, even though I was not an attorney. And when I first met with another attorney who was successful in my area, and I kind of wanted to pick her brain and figure out how and why she did it, one of the things she said is, don't forget that you're running a company, you're not just practicing law. And as I looked around at other lawyers, I really saw that attorneys that went out to start their own firm failed or were not as successful as they wanted to be because they forgot that the practice of law, even though you're a lawyer and you identify as a professional as a lawyer, the practice of law is your good or your service, essentially, and the rest still needs to be run as a business. And so I took that piece of advice
Mm,
along with the idea that you can't do everything, even if you should know every aspect of your company and you should have some knowledge so you can help and train and understand.
sure.
But it wasn't going to be effective, for example, for me to build my own website because I'm not a website builder. So I took the concept of treating my law firm as a business
Yeah.
and really utilizing my skills where they are best and outsourcing the things that I would be mediocre at to other people. And I
Yeah.
did that out the gate. And I think that really led to my success.
Well, and I think that's not just for, a law firm. That really goes to anything. It's kind of like, the pie maker in I forget which book it is, one of the books, but they talk about this gal who's making pies, right? And all she was doing was making pies. And, contrast to someone else who, not only made the pie, but then wrote down the system of how to make the pie and kind of worked on the procedures and the process and maybe some automations. And then when they hired somebody, they had the process and the procedure and the checklist. And it sounds like that's what you did. But I mean, you're right. That applies in every entrepreneurial journey. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I believe that I mean, you have to be a certain kind of person to own a business, right?
You
I
do?
definitely think that they say anybody can own a business, but I think it takes a certain personality
Absolutely.
type to do it.
Absolutely.
But if you have that personality, I think it is to have a successful company is a checklist system.
Oh yeah.
Success is defined by the individual, of course, and can look a lot of different ways, but ultimately achieving whatever your definition of success is, you can just go down a line, and if you do certain things, it will happen. And
Yeah.
I really do. I continue to, even till this day, I continue to treat my law firm as a business. I make the hard business decisions, even though I practice law and I really love what I do as a lawyer. I keep a real hard line
Mm.
between business and my lawyering, if you will.
Gotcha. Yeah, 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 yeah. Whether you're wearing the president hat or the actual lawyering. So we were talking about these internal processes that you had mentioned in the pre-call, the internal communication required procedures. Is that kind of what you're referring to, like treating it as a business, or is that something a little different?
A little different. I mean, I think that you need to, as a business owner, you need to understand cash flow and how to make those kind of decisions. You know, pipelines, things like that is one of the things I think on a checklist. With as far as interpersonal communication, I think this. And actually, I was having this debate last week with my family. I think there's a difference between running a company and having a productive work environment. Now,
Mm,
oftentimes they go together, and if you have a more authentic and im- I guess a good work environment, workspace, you're going to create more profits because your employees are going to be happier. But I don't know that I still have met companies that have garbage internal environments and they're profitable. The hardest part for me was learning the importance of interpersonal communication within my office, and then my role as a leader in that space. It was a huge challenge. It took me years to even identify that that was the problem, like that was a problem. And then once I identified it, I continued to make it till I had, you know, some pretty big issues. And I finally worked on, I addressed it. I think it's super important. And I would say, to anybody that's owning a company, really understand, especially with the younger generations, oh my goodness,
Mm,
the interpersonal communication within your company. If you can learn it and identify it and figure out how your leadership style is going to work within it, it's going to lead not only to a more profitable company, but a more pleasant business
yeah.
ownership experience.
So it's one thing to say, like you're saying, hey, learn the interpersonal communication within your office, but how did you do it? Like I would imagine people listening be like, well,
What does that
okay,
mean?
what the heck do I do with that?
Well, personally, I'll go through what I did. I am a very direct person. I don't, and that
Mm,
has positive and negatives, right? I don't hold grudges. Once I've addressed something, I move
it's done and
on.
over with.
I'm
Yeah.
not, yeah, get it over with. I'm a band-aid, I just rip off the band-aid. It is what it is. Here's the problem. Here's the solution. Let's move on kind of
Yeah.
person. I and I'm like that with every area of my life. I thought, and I still think because it's my personality, that that is the best way for me and how I would always tell people to do it. However, I learned early that that is not how everybody likes to communicate, and that I've learned about the compliment sandwich, right? Where you compliment and then you say what the problem is and you close with the
Yeah.
compliment. I learned that that is not my style, and
Yeah.
instead of getting upset about it, right? At the beginning, I would get upset that people, needed the compliment sandwich or couldn't handle my directness or thought when I said, this is how the letterhead needs to be formatted, do that. And
Yeah.
like, I expect that this mistake is never going to happen again. They would take that so personally.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to me, interpersonal communication was really addressing how I lead, my personality style, and not only, and I learning how other people communicate. Um, and then to a certain degree, well, I did. I lost a lot of people because I didn't realize this. But then
Mm,
knowing that
sure.
I'm not going to change, I can soften, but I'm not going to change. So I need to surround myself within my company with people that are support that communication style and that prefer it, right? That makes
Got
them
it.
more
Yeah.
productive.
Got
Another
it.
thing I did is I brought in professionals to come treat my
Mm,
office or teach my office interpersonal communication skills between themselves because
yeah.
anybody who's had employees knows that there can be an awful lot of drama. And I found myself at one point pre-pandemic feeling like I was babysitting a whole bunch of adults. And every
Yeah.
time I'd walk into my
Yeah.
office, I'd get
Yeah. It's
complaints.
tough. It's chatter, drama, blah, 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 complaints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he did this and I'm going to do that. And I said, you know
Oh,
what?
gosh. Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
going to bring in somebody and we're going to all
Uh-huh.
learn how to talk to each other.
Do you
Right.
remember what kind of model they use or what company they use? Sometimes Gallup has one. Another one is Colby.
I went with a local
Okay, just
HR
so yeah.
company.
Okay,
Yeah. So
cool. Got it.
I think you need to, a big company is really great. I had a, I'm considered, I guess, from an employee standpoint, maybe a smaller firm. I would recommend people, if you have somebody in your area that that you
Local.
trust,
Yeah.
that has done
Yeah.
this, reach out. If you're
Absolutely.
totally at a loss, then a big company is great. But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wanted
totally.
somebody in person. That was my big thing is we're learning interpersonal communication skills. We're going to all be in office
Right.
role playing.
Got it. Yeah, yeah. Awesome. So yeah, so great stuff there. You had mentioned something about be the boss. What does that mean to you?
That was again quite along the line how I was going to lead in this interpersonal communication. It can be really you spend more if you are working full time at your company, you spend arguably more time with your employees and your coworkers than you do with your family.
Right?
And it can get very casual. You learn all about their lives, their children, their hardships. We're kind of all in this together and it found for or I found myself becoming more of a friend
Mm,
and then a boss. So I let myself play into their emotions. I let myself
Mm,
go on the roller coaster of my employees' lives, trying to help them and be more friendly. And I blurred the line of being a
mm,
boss.
mm,
I had that ended up costing me not only a relationship with my mom for a few years because she was working
mm,
there, but it also ended up costing me some of my best employees because
mm.
we didn't have clear boundaries of what I was doing and what they were doing. And every time I'd have to come in and play boss, it was it was received as um, you know bad, or I just lost the word, but it was not received well.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And I didn't like the idea of not being a friend with the people that I employ, because again, we
Right.
spend so much time and I invest myself in working with them and teaching them and training them, and they're such an intricate part of my company, which is, near and dear to my heart. But I had to learn that I'm not their friend. I am their boss, and I can be friendly. I can sympathize with them, but it's not appropriate for me to blur those lines for them. And it's not, I, I think the hardest thing was that it wasn't their problem. It was like a Rachel Boss problem, that I was allowing this to blur. I was not able to,
Sure. Yeah, it
for
all
example,
comes from the
correct, right? It starts
manager.
blurring when you have to correct them when they're doing things
Right.
wrong, or when you're letting, an employee that you're better friends with get away with more. It screwed up the entire office culture, and it was awful, awful.
No, it totally makes sense. It's why it's like why in the military, right? Why it's called fraternization between
Mhm.
officers and enlisted, because it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
It,
You have that once you become friends, then they feel like they don't have to necessarily listen to you, and then you start, like you said, then you start having these blurred lines, and yeah. So I definitely get that.
and it doesn't only affect the relationship that, like, it didn't just affect the relationship I had with that particular employee. It affected my relationship with my other employees, because everybody thought we were at different
Mm,
levels of friendship,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And well, why does this person get away with this? And why is, what's going on? And
Mm,
I think, it was a big insecurity for me, because I didn't
mhm.
want them to ever think that I thought I was better than them. And I didn't realize that me leading and maintaining the boss boundary is not me saying I'm better than my employees. It's just me taking a different position.
Totally.
And that was a really hard thing for me to navigate personally. Was I'm not better than you because I'm your boss. So I don't think less of you as a human because I
Yeah,
asked you
yeah.
to take out the trash,
Right.
but you take out the trash because that's your job,
It's your
right?
job,
And
sure.
that's hard.
Yeah, yeah. Did you find that setting up like job descriptions and defining clear lines of responsibility, accountability has helped in that area as well?
Yeah, so we have job duties. We have,
Hmm.
of course, not just job descriptions, but I actually have job duties for every
Hmm.
single position in my office, and it's permanently placed at every desk. So
Wow.
not only does that help when you have replacement, but my legal secretary knows exactly what her expectations are every
Yeah,
day.
got it. Yeah.
I I disassociate a little bit from my staff in that I don't, unless we're doing like a formal lunch or a formal event, I don't have lunch with them. They all have lunch together, and that's great. But I don't. I really try and keep, my office is my office.
Sure.
And if you want to meet with me, this is what we're going to do. I want to learn about your family, but I try not to tell them. If they ask about mine, I'm not secretive, but I don't get them as involved in my family,
Yeah.
and I
Oh, it's
really
totally
take it
different. Yeah, yeah.
from that. And not, no, I'm not saying everybody has to do this. This was just something that I identified in myself, and I had to learn what was going to work for me to set those
Mm,
boundaries. And everybody's going to be
gotcha.
different, I think.
Gotcha. So what's next for your company?
Well, I took the specialist exam in 2020, in October. Actually, we're still in 2023. And so I'm
Okay.
super excited. I get my results in March of 2024. So I'm
Okay.
hoping that I will become a specialist in California. That means you become an expert in your
Oh, wow.
field.
Okay.
And so that's pretty exciting.
That is exciting.
I, yeah, I'm looking forward to 2024. We're going to be pushing out a podcast that highlights local business owners
Okay.
and again some of their pitfalls and successes, and really again try and target the awareness of financial elder abuse. I'd like to get some more higher profile cases so that I can again share the awareness
Yeah.
and spread the word on how to prevent financial elder abuse and litigation.
Love it. Love it. Rachel, let me take a few minutes and just kind of summarize some of my key takeaways from our time today. One is treat your business like a business. Draw a line between whatever you're involved in your operations and running the business, and know how to balance that and delineate the two. Don't try to wear those two hats at the same time. The other was the importance of interpersonal communication within your office or your company. Not everyone communicates the same way, and you found this out, through experience. This compliment sandwich, it wasn't your style, but some other people needed it. So understanding how you lead, your communication style, personality style, and then learning how other people communicate, and then as best you can learn how to balance that. You're not necessarily going to change, but you can, somewhat be versatile to accommodate their communication style. And you even brought in professionals to teach those skills between themselves, which is fantastic. And then this concept of be the boss is you kind of found yourself playing into their emotions versus being a boss. And it costed you some of your best employees and even relationship with your own mom for a while. But the biggest takeaway is that you're not their friend, you're their boss. You can be friendly, but not their friend. And it even impacts not just that person with a specific instance, but the other employees that are looking at that saying, well, why do they have such a favorable relationship? Or why do they get this or that, right? Or they believe they have that. So Rachel, let me ask, if there was one takeaway that you'd really like the audience to absorb from our time together today, what would that be?
I think you summed it up really beautifully. I would add that I revisit these on a regular basis. I don't think this is a one and done
No.
time where
Yeah.
you figure out this your how to communicate, you figure out your leadership style, and you go on. I It needs to be addressed over and over again. And I think it's even more important as we have, you Gen Z coming up into the workforce, and I think after that is Gen Alpha. They look at work and approach the work environment from a completely different standpoint than boomers,
Yeah.
Gen X, and even millennials. So to be successful on an ongoing basis, which is what we all want through decades and generations, it's even more important now, I think, to continue to revisit that so you can learn not just how your employees communicate and work their best, but how you can adapt your leadership style to
Mm.
these other generation ideals.
Love it. Love it. Rachel, let me ask, if any of our listeners wanted to reach out and get a hold of you for perhaps any questions, or anybody that would like you to utilize your services, legal services, what's the best way they could do that?
I'm on all of the social medias at The Lawyer King, so
Okay, great.
they can follow me, subscribe, all of that. All my contact information is there as well.
The Lawyer King. So any social media at The Lawyer King. Awesome. That's a
That is
great
correct.
handle. Yeah,
Thank
very
you.
cool. That's
I
awesome.
actually bought that before I was a lawyer because I was
Did you?
nervous it was going to be taken. Yeah.
Okay, you're like, I'm going to hold on to this, snatch it up like a squirrel with acorns in their
That's right.
cheeks. Awesome, Rachel. Well, this is a great episode. Had so much fun. Thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, very good. Awesome. And for the listeners out there, please hit the like and subscribe button and help us spread the word about what we're doing. We're helping the next generation of CEOs and leaders be that much more successful. And with that, this is Patrick Rogers, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks a lot.